Well, I've told you a little about how the TSGA started in the Jamboree and a little about Charlie. And one of the things about this Jamboree is it's really so much more than just a still show. I like to call it, when I'm out and about promoting and talking to people about it, and they ask me, I tell them it's really a family reunion. And over the number of years I've been involved in different ways, I've met so many interesting and wonderful people. And I've been so fortunate that many of them have become my friends over the years, and our next artist is one of those. He's from Alberta, Canada, and he is an incredible musician, and he plays with people from coast to coast across Canada. And not only that, he's a pretty cool dude. And so just let me introduce my friend, Mr. Bob Blair.
Thanks, John. I'm trying to live up to that coolness label. I was just talking to Charlie, the bass player, and I told him I'm just going to do my Bob Blair by himself solo routine for this set. A nice relaxed, nice intimate crowd, and the thing I do to try and impress girls. And he said, "Well, you need a note from your wife to be able to do that." And I thought, okay, that's why it's never worked. To keep that in mind, I actually got sent away to boarding school for reasons that I never understood, and it's too late to find out now. When I was in, I guess, grade 9 or something like that, and I was there for a couple of years, and we had chapel every Sunday that was mandatory, and I think every morning too, as I recall, we'd parade us into the chapel, and the headmaster would say something that was supposed to be inspiring, but wasn't, but it was loose, kind of an Anglican, or you'd say Episcopalian service that we had, and the thing that stuck with me was the hymns. I mean, those guys knew how to write and sing hymns, and I think they still do. I borrowed a copy of the Book of Common Praise from an Anglican preacher in my hometown a while ago, and I'm trying to learn a few things out of them, but I got some new ideas that aren't quite ready. But I've been noodling around with some of my favorite hymns and tunes. So I've strung this together. I'll probably end with something that technically wasn't a tune. It was a called Shaker Melody, and some people, I think, turned it into a hymn at some point, called it Lord of the Dance. I'm going to start. The first one in the series is the one I'll tell you a bit about. It's actually apparently written by John Bunyan. The lyrics came straight out of Pilgrim's Progress, and they're very grim lyrics. Though foes beset us round with dismal stories, it really didn't sound like any fun, but it's a beautiful hymn called To Be a Pilgrim, and we'll go from there and see which ones I do today. I really never got tired of those tunes or the sound of these guitars. I borrowed this one from Stephen Cowell. It's very similar to one I have at home. It was made by Carol Benoit, who was a great friend of many of us, a wonderful builder, and really some things that happened here at the Benoit Room with Carol and Anita changed my life and changed my musical directions, and these instruments were a big part of it. I'm still a pedal steel player. That's mostly what people pay me money, or what passes for money to do. But I live in the part of the world where Ian Tyson's from, and everybody in the steel world knows Tyson because of Someday Soon, which he wrote. It was kind of like the steel guitar national anthem. But and I'm sure that Ian would want me to convey his greetings. Well, no, he wouldn't. Actually, he's a cranky old son of a gun. But these days. This is an obscure Ian Tyson song, and I walked into the Benoit Room some years ago when the late Mike Aldridge was still alive, and he was here, and I think it was the second last time Mike was here, and I got off the plane, came to the hotel, wandered into the Benoit Room, and Carol's sitting there with Mike, and Mike is playing around on one of these, and possibly this very one, I'm not sure.
I think it was that very one.
Yeah, and so Carol says, "Mike, this is that guy I was telling you about," and so Aldridge says, "Oh, well, have at her," and hands me this guitar, and this was the first time I'd ever met Mike. I just didn't know what to do. He was a god to me, really, still is. So I thought, well, a good song will bail you out every time, and this is an obscure Ian Tyson song. It's about a bar in Dawson City, which is where Canada had its part of the Klondike Gold Rush, and there was a character named Sam Bonfield who had, among other things, a saloon, and it's called Sam Bonfield Saloon. Champagne with a hot coffee, whiskey with our tea, husky dogs a howling at the moon. And if I had $1 million, well, I'd trade it all to be with my pals down at Sam Bonfield Saloon. With the kings of El Dorado and Dawson's dancing queen, singing out our favorite dance hall tunes. Midnight sun ablazing in a town that never sleeps, with my pals down at Sam Bonfield's Saloon. I mentioned Tyson, and of course I'm now living part of the time in southern Alberta, which is real cowboy country, and I started playing with an old crony of mine, the guy that actually went to that boarding school where I learned all those hymns with me. We were grade 10 roommates, and we both had guitars, and he taught me a bunch of cowboy songs and Sylvia songs, and I taught him, Simon and Garfunkel songs and a bunch of hippie stuff. And And neither of us graduated from that school. We went our separate ways. And some years ago, I was at a bluegrass festival with my daughter, and Charlie's bluegrass band, the Dirty Hat Band, as they were called, was playing. And Charlie ranches in the Alberta's Porcupine Hills and writes songs, and he's a staple at Cowboy poetry festivals. He's sort of one of the ringers that they bring in, because you go to these things. I played them now, and they're some of that poetry is just awful. But some of it's not. Charlie's songs are anything but awful. I lost my thread. There was a reason I was telling you that, and yeah. So I'd kind of rejected cowboys. I kind of grew up half on a small ranch, and went through the urban cowboy phase, and I was just sick of cowboys, and never wanted to have anything to do with them again. Suddenly, I'm playing with Charlie Ewing at cowboy poetry festivals and things, and Charlie's really who Ian Tyson wants to be when he grows up. I mean, he's the real deal. And so I thought I'd better try and get back to those roots and make my peace with cowboys. I'm not going to wear a hat, but I do actually have one of those jackets with the yoke. Sometimes wear it. So I put together this cowboy themed medley. It's really just a couple of short instrumentals with a great Utah Phillips song in the middle about the Goodnight Loving Trail. And Charlie Goodnight and his partner Oliver Loving were great cattle drivers, and actually the models for the characters in the Lonesome Dove series. Even though Charlie Goodnight himself makes cameo appearances. It turned out that Ewing and I have after those decades of not being around one another and coming from very different places in all kinds of ways, we have a great fondness for those McMurtry stories. If you haven't read them, you should. Too old to wrangle, right on the swing. You beat the triangle and you curse everything. If dirt were a kingdom, you'd be the king. On the Goodnight Trail, on the Loving Trail. Where our old woman's lonesome tonight, your French harp moans like a lone bowling cat. It's a wonder the wind don't tear off the skin. Get in there and blow out the light. With your snake oil and herbs and your liniment too, you can do anything that a doctor can do, except find a cure for your own goddamn stew. On the Goodnight Trail, on the Loving Trail. Our old woman's lonesome tonight. Your French harp moans like a lone bowling cat. It's a wonder the wind don't tear off the skin. Get in there and blow out the light. cook fire's out, the coffee's all gone, the boys are all up, they're raising the dawn. You're still sitting here kinda lost in a song, on the goodnight trail, on the loving trail, where our old woman's lonesome tonight. Your French heart moans like a lone bawling cat. It's a wonder the wind don't tear off the skin. Get in there and blow out the light. And I know someday I'll be just the same, wearing an apron instead of a name. No one can change it, no one's to blame. On the goodnight trail, on the loving trail. This is a song I always wanted to do and never could make it come out right for decades. And then somehow it occurred to me that the finger style guitar kind of thing, it lays pretty nicely on one of these Cajunborne. So then I realized that the hardest part was learning the lyrics. It's great old Phil Ochs song called Changes, and it's really more of a poem, so there's none of these words like drinking and thinking that rhyme, none of that stuff, none of that story stuff that makes it easy. But I like the way it plays on this guitar, and I like to sing it, and if I don't quite remember the words, I'll make something up. Sit by my side, come as close as the air, sharing a memory that's great. Wander in my world, dream about the pictures that I play of changes. Green leaves of summer turn red in the fall, to brown and to yellow they fade, then they have to die, trapped within the circle time parade of changes. Scenes of my young years were warm in my mind, visions of shadows that shine, till one day I returned to find they were the victims of the vines of changes. The world's spinning madly, it drifts in the dark, it spins in a hollow of haze, a race around the stars, journey through the universe ablaze. The changes, moments of magic will glow in the night, all fears of the forest are gone. When the morning breaks, they're swept away by golden drops of dawn. Changes, passions will part to a warm melody, as fires will sometimes grow cold. Like petals to the wind, we're puppets to the silver strings of soul of changes. Your tears will be trembling, now we're somewhere else. One last cup of wine we will pour. I'll kiss you one more time, leave you on the rolling river shore of change. Yeah, I think I got them all. They're going to play some unaccompanied dobro at ya. Strange thing to do, I suppose, but I like to do it. There's some sort of songs that either originated in or are reminiscent of the British Islands, Ireland, Scotland, all that great Celtic music comes from, and so much of music that made its way into North America and Appalachia had roots there. You know, those tunes that got used for a million different things. So I tried to string a few together, and the first one is an Irish tune, and there's a Scottish, of course, song that has almost the same melody called Loch Lomond, called Red as the Rose, and then there's a few others. I'll tell you about the last one. Is actually written by the late Stan Rogers, who was a great Canadian folk singer and writer and entertainer, who lost his life in an Air Canada plane crash near Cincinnati some 20 or 30 years ago. And his brother, who was on the flight and survived, recalls that he could hear that booming voice of Stan's, trying to get people out of that plane. And he had quite a voice. He wrote some pretty stirring songs, and the last song in this thing is called Northwest Passage, and it's one of them. But there's 4 tunes here.
lunch after you, so you can play for another hour and we'll go eat lunch if you want. No, it's 12:03 and you were scheduled through 11:50, so anytime you want to quit, Bob, you're welcome to.
Okay. Want one more?
Sure, please, yes.
One more, okay, let's see.
What?
Yeah, again, I go back, you never really escape your youth, you try. I go back to, go back to that school full of boys, that I was, spent, those a couple of adolescent years during that time, some great stuff was on the radio. There's some great hits, and Merrily Rush had a song, and this was their first version of the song. I think she recorded two called Angel of the Morning, and there was this psychedelic kind of poster that people had of Merrily and the Turnabouts, and they had Grateful Dead posters then too. And this gorgeous woman, with psychedelic, things all around her. She had a song called Angel of the Morning, and you can imagine the impact of that song on a school full of boys where girls were mostly a myth. Leave that to your imagination. But a fun fact about that first Merrily Rush version was it had pedal steel guitar on it, and the pedal steel was played by none other than the late Bobby Seymour, who had steel guitar in Nashville. I don't know what you're going to do with that information, but it's kind of cool when you think about it. Anyway, I was fooling around. This just came to me just the other day that this was fun to play, so I worked it out. Something's wrong there. That'll be better. Thanks a lot, folks. Thanks for coming.
Mr. Bob Blair.
Rose, we haven't heard that in a while.
No,
Do you have time for that?
Angel of the Morning.
No, give my love to Rose. We hadn't heard that in a while.
Oh, you really want that?
Yeah, you guys giving us a good one here now.
Band performance.
Okay. You haven't heard that for at least a day. I'll try and in the key of D on this.
All right.
The John Prine song. A little more on the serious side now. Got up this morning, put on my slipper, went to the kitchen and dined. And oh, what a feeling when my soul went through the ceiling and on up into heaven I did ride. When I got there they did say, well, it happened this way. You slipped on the floor and hit your head. And all the angels say just before you passed away, these were the very last words that you said. Please don't bury me down in the cold, cold ground. I'd rather have them cut me up, pass me all around. Throw my brain in a hurricane, and blind can have my eyes, deaf can have both my ears if they don't mind sight. Get my stomach to Milwaukee, they run out of beer. Throw my socks in a cedar box, just get them out of here. Venus de Milo can have my arms, look out, God really knows. Sell my soul to the junkyard and give my love to Rose. Please don't bury me down in the cold, cold ground. I'd rather have them cut me up, pass me all around. Throw my brain in a hurricane, blind can have my eyes, deaf can have both my ears if they don't mind sight. Get my knees to the feet, get my feet to the footloose, careless, fancy free. Get my knees to the needy, don't lay that shit on me. Hand me down my walking cane, it's a sin to tell a lie. Summer mouth way down south and kiss my ass goodbye. Please don't bury me down in the cold, cold ground. No, I'd rather have them cut me up, pass me all around. Throw my brain in a hurricane, blind can have my eyes, deaf can have both of my ears if they don't mind the size. There you go, Larry. That'll pay you for the pizza.
That was a good one.
That's Cajunborne.
Thank you, Bob.
Good.
Doesn't it?